Hello, and welcome to Consciousness Coaching Level 1. This class is on symbols. So one of the things that I like to say is a symbol is worth 1,000 lifetimes. We've heard of a picture is worth of 1,000 words. And so this is a play on this. When your subconscious sees a symbol, it knows that it's connecting to many past lifetimes, and perhaps where you lived in Babylonian times, Egyptian times, Greek times. And all of a sudden in the psyche, it starts to make a story and a connection. All of the symbols are stored in the collective unconscious, and we all have access to these symbols through whatever intuitive technique we use. But when we introduce a symbol into a client's life, they start to create a personal relationship with that symbol based on what they have lived in previous lifetimes with that symbol. If you or your client do not believe in past lifetimes, that's okay. We can explain symbols and the significance, and the client can use it for what they're working through or working on. Ceremony, ritual, symbol, myth, this is all the language of the subconscious, and it's all the language of the universe. So when you look at one symbol, it could cause perhaps emotion. The colors might trigger something in your body. Maybe it reminds you of another symbol that's perhaps on one of your favorite pieces of clothing. So all of the symbols are made from sacred geometry, shapes that have been in our psyche in many, many different forms for many lifetimes and many years. And so when we introduce symbol into a client's life, we're actually opening them up to their intuition, into their subconscious and deeper aspects of themselves that might have been asleep. When I teach the Akashic Records class, the first thing I teach students is to create a symbol dictionary. There are symbol dictionaries that exist that you could purchase, but to start creating their own. So when something resonates with them, or they see a symbol and they want to know more about it, or I introduce a symbol in a class and they really resonate with this is a way to create your own symbol dictionary or symbol library. Your Akashic Records is an energy field that pervades everything in the world, but each individual person has their own library. And so therefore, even those symbols are going to have some relevance to most people, to have a similar meaning. That person's Akashic Records, that person's energetic library has its own set of symbols stored, and those are going to be the ones that maybe they really resonate with more than others. The other reason to start creating a symbol dictionary or a symbol library is because it starts to open up your intuition and your intuitive gifts. When I open the Akashic Records, I always start with one symbol. That entire symbol shows me the whole message of the reading, what the client needs in terms of medicine, in terms of the message. So it's very powerful. So sacred geometry. Our entire logo, the squared circle, is rooted in sacred geometry. The first symbol of sacred geometry is the circle. Every single thing built upon the circle is more sacred geometry. But the symbol of the circle is wholeness. It's completion. It's leaving home, going out and coming back home to self. So that entire process of the hero's journey, of dethroning parents, is all rooted in that circle. And the symbol we use for the school is called the squared circle, because what keeps us from the inner divine and the outer divine circle is a thought, an emotion, and a body. So here I have a flower. You could see that there is a certain pattern to this flower. And there is in nature sacred geometry. There are no straight lines. It's all built upon the circle. Spirituality is circular and spherical. It is not hierarchical. So you don't see lines in nature. However, you do see a pattern. In a moment, I'm going to show you the Fibonacci spiral. And in nature, we have a golden number, phi, and we have the Fibonacci number. And these two together, they're not exactly the same, but they're somewhat related, create the shapes in nature that we see on the spirals of a pineapple or a pine cone, or is in this flower. So sacred geometry is the crux of what we do at Hidden Truths in terms of symbols. And every class, whether it's consciousness coaching, where we see the triangle, where we use the pendulum, these symbols carry a lot of weight. In the shamanic class, we use animal totems. We'll see a drum in a moment. And so every class has sacred geometry or symbols that are stored in the psyche, in the collective unconscious, and we use them to speak to the psyche and to open up a person's subconscious. We use a lot of symbol in our school. This is probably my absolute favorite sacred geometry symbol, and it's a labyrinth. Everything that happens on a labyrinth is a message. This is really good for people that are perhaps more limited in their thinking or rigid or haven't had experiences with spirit or much spiritual messages. You can invite them to walk a labyrinth. As you could see, the labyrinth here is circular. Most of them are circular. There is a shamanic one called a man in the maze that is square. But basically, these circles are called circuits. And these in the middle, the spaces are called labyrinths. They actually represent swords or the sledgehammer of Hephaestus, because we do see life and understand life that is us being a warrior. And so these circuits are representative of our spiritual path. Over here, you walk in through the labyrinth. There's only one way in and one way out. A labyrinth is not a maze. It is not a trick. It represents our inner path to ourselves. So you walk in and then you walk all of the circuits. This center could be a petal, could be significant of the divine self, of the inner circle from our logo, back to your third chakra, God, your soul, whatever you indicate that to mean for yourself. And I want to point out something about the labyrinth. When you walk the labyrinth, the further out you appear, it seems like you're furthest from the center. But actually, when you're at these circuits around here, is just at the beginning and you're actually further. So there is a lot of symbolism in this. The other thing about the labyrinth is anything that happens on the labyrinth is a message. I was once in Brooklyn, and this family crossed as I was walking this labyrinth in a park with their groceries and their grocery cart, and the kids were screaming and yelling. And for a moment, I was like, wow, I'm in a contemplative practice. But then I realized, no, all life is contemplation and all life is spiritual. It's not, just sort of reserved for these spiritual acts. So you can always get a message. You could pick things up off the labyrinth if you find a flower or a stone that speaks to you. You can also do labyrinth walks. I have a 32-foot canvas labyrinth that I'll take around with me and do walks in auditoriums or schools. You could go to labyrinthlocator.com and find labyrinths near you, and you're able to walk these labyrinths that are open to the public. Some of them are canvas, some of them are in churches, some of them are brick pavers. There's a huge society of labyrinth walkers, and it's a real beautiful practice to start connecting to your subconscious. The other thing in this particular style of labyrinth, most of them do, they represent the lobes and the hemispheres in the brain. So when you walk in and you cross over these circuits, these labyrinths, it's almost as if you understand that you're crossing the left and right hemispheres of the brain. And so it really does something for the circuitry of the brain in terms of connecting left to right. Astrology, we teach astrology, and I've shared mythology with you. All of mythology is linked back to astrology and vice versa. Planets are the archetypes. These are the competitive and the collaborative voices that we speak of. And it's a really great tool to have a picture of your astrology chart because you could see yourself on a piece of paper. These in the picture are actually older versions of the chart where people used to draw them from hand and do the mathematical calculations. Now the chart has more colors and we can see things just calculated really easily for us. But it was definitely an art where people would sit with their compass and protractors and rulers and really engage in a spiritual act when they were drawing out a chart and all of the mathematics and metaphysics involved. If you get a free chart online, you'll be able to see all of the symbols, which are the planetary archetypes that we use at Hidden Truths to discuss the psyche and where all the theories and myths came from. The chakras. The chakras are energetic centers that go up and down the body. There are 7 main ones. Some traditions will say that there's 8 or 11. There's a variety because some are considered outside of the body. But the main 6 are in the body, and then the 7th one is in the crown right above the head. And this is the model that we use primarily at Hidden Truths. We talk about unmet needs, we talk about validation, we talk about love. This is very much linked, first chakra to safety, security, second to protection, third to validation, and fourth to love. This is also the lower nature when we talk about Chiron, and these are the higher nature. So we use the chakras quite a bit. People this day and age tend to be familiar with the chakras. I want to point out that the only one that has a square is the root chakra. So again, it's linked to the body or the lower vibrations that die when we're buried. The second chakra has circles, and this is related to the emotions. So we have our thoughts, we have our emotions. And then here, and we start with the triangles, and every single chakra, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th has a triangle. They're all pointed downward. So it indicates the feminine or the lower consciousness or the water and the earth elements. The 4th chakra is the only one that has both the masculine and the feminine triangle. The masculine is the one pointing upwards. And this is the heart center. So when we come back home and we complete, we not only love ourselves, but we love others. The 5th chakra, which is the throat chakra, also has a pointed down triangle, but now it has a circle. And then this is the one we talk so much about in this program, which is the throne. The circle is the void. That's where you dethrone your parents. The right and left lotus are mom and dad as consultants. And then understanding your humanity being in the body with the downward triangle of the earth and water elements. And then the 7th chakra is a 1,000-petaled lotus. It has the Om, and it symbolizes transcendence. And you could see it's like sacred geometry. And this is right at the crown, right above the head. So we use this quite a bit in our teachings as well. Symbols from mythology. This is the Oracle at Delphi, famous place in Delphi, Greece, that says, "Man, know thyself, and you will know the wonders of the universe." It also says everything in moderation. So those are very much things that we do here. Consciousness coaching is all about knowing yourself, and the 48 to 52, which is the premise of the model, is about moderation and not excess. This is a drum. We use a lot of drums in shamanism. We also use a lot of animals, and they're called animal totems, and the animals have medicine. They have archetypal medicine and messages in the animal, and drumming is very much associated with shamanism, and maybe something that you invite clients to do, which are shamanic journeys using drums, which really can change the brain waves so they can get into more of a relaxed state. The caduceus. The caduceus is the symbol for the medical world, but really it's an energetic medical symbol. These two serpents are called the Ida and the Pingala, and the center is called the Sushumna. So the Sushumna is linked to the energy that passes through the spinal column. And then the left and the right, which is what we need for balance, are the two serpents or snakes. Everywhere the serpents intersect, there is a chakra. So this is the fourth chakra, for instance, or the fifth chakra. And then where they meet, the heads are the sixth chakra. This is why we have unified consciousness and wholeness in the sixth chakra. These wings represent the mental instability of the mind. And this pine cone here comes from Dionysus, who is the transgender god in Greek mythology. Transgender meaning balance of masculine and feminine energies, which is what these two serpents represent. And it's called a thyrsus. And it is the symbol of unity, unified consciousness, of male, female, light and dark, good and bad, day and night. All of the half-truths come together in the sixth chakra, come together in the pineal gland. So this particular symbol has a lot of meaning, and we will break more of that down in our programs here. This is the Vesica Pisces. So I mentioned earlier that the circle is the sacred geometry, and from there, all things come. When you have two circles, it's called the Vesica Pisces. You might have known this as the Venn diagram in school. In Truth is in the Triangle Consciousness Coaching 2, you're going to see that the entire model of relationships is rooted in this symbol. And so it's two circles overlapping. This almond shape in the middle is called a mandorla, and it symbolizes the vehicle or the vessel or the passageway back home to the universal consciousness or the universal womb. Basically, half of it is spirit and half of it is matter. You can see here the universal consciousness represented by the planets, and the earthly consciousness represented by the plants or the trees. It is unification of both that gives us the 48 to 52, the light and the dark midpoint. We call this the shaman, the mystic, or the midway. And so when we build our astral body, this mandorla grows so that we're able to go back out of the earthly form in a much easier way and leave and die in a more peaceful manner. And this has to do with understanding the shadow, the light, the masculine, the feminine, balancing those competitive and collaborative voices, everything we teach in the program. So this symbol is one we use quite a bit here. The Fibonacci spiral I mentioned, the Fibonacci spiral is actually the curvature of spiritual growth. And similar to those spirals in nature, it's linked to the growth or the spirals that we see in flowers and pine cones and pineapples and so forth. I use this particular symbol. You're going to see this in the spiritual adulting information. You'll see this in astrology if you take astrology. It really represents our spiritual growth. We are all guaranteed some growth in this lifetime. So you could have the growth of a shriveled raisin, and that's okay. That is growth from the moment of your conception to when you die. However, you can choose to do these concepts in this program, and you can actually choose to grow in a bigger growth. And the Fibonacci spiral shows the potential of the growth. So here's the beginning, and it has a curvature linked to a number. So it's 1, 1, 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. And that's how the Fibonacci number is explained in that order. So we use this when we talk about the fat cows and the skinny cows. This is linked to that myth and that theme. And it's linked to how much growth the individual with their free will decides to have in this lifetime. And this is the Hamsa. This hand is seen in a lot of traditions, and it's viewed as a hand that holds back the evil eye. I like to use this symbol as a boundary that you, if you think about putting your hand and you say stop, or you say no, or if you take your hand from your second chakra all the way up, sort of going upward motion to your sixth chakra, you can seal your energetic boundary so that certain things and influences don't come in. So it's not only the evil eye in terms of not letting things in. If you wear a hamsa, and many people do have amulets that they wear, but also it's the power of the hand. It's the power of having a boundary and you doing your work in terms of blocking whatever is headed your way. Thank you.